You want to lose weight and you want to set some weight loss goals, but that's kind of tricky. I think it's a great idea to set goals. Whatever kind of thing you're wanting to accomplish, it's always good to set goals. But weight loss goals are a little bit tricky, and I certainly learned this lesson even more the second go around. In the beginning of this channel back in 2017, I made a video called 5 Weight Loss Goals Mistakes to Avoid. And in that video, I had some, I think this good advice, but there are some factors that are trickier, especially as you get down to a normal BMI. So in 2016, that's when I was losing the bulk of my weight, and I lost down from like 207 down to 157. When I looked at that, I realized, there were some things I did that year that were really good. But then in 2017, at the end of 2017, I decided to lose some more weight, and I learned more during that little portion of it, because I ended up losing about 17 pounds overall. But it was an interesting thing because I learned some lessons along the way about, how unpredictable weight loss really is. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the steps you can take to set up some good weight loss goals, and also some pitfalls to avoid based on my experience. So the first step is, obviously, you got to pick a number, right? If your goal is to lose weight, you kind of want to pick a number. So you're shooting towards something. And the tricky part is maybe you don't know what a good number is to shoot for in the first place. And this is something I struggled with when I was up at 222. I was like, I don't even know, what's a good number? And so one thing that helped me was to look at the BMI charts. Now, of course, that's not a perfect system, the body mass index, but what I found is, in my experience, once I got down near the normal BMI, I actually did feel really good. I had lots of energy. I didn't feel like, weight was like an issue anymore for me. So if you're kind of lost, I would recommend just going and looking at that chart, because it gives you a very wide range, which is nice because it shows you there's not that one perfect number that you've got to get to. It's a range. And what I found is, when I originally, back when I was 222, I kind of said to myself 142, because that was 80 pounds, and that would have put me right in the middle of the BMI zone. But what happened for me in 2016 was, as I got down towards that number, I was only within a few pounds of that. I really realized, I'm happy right here, and I decided to maintain right there, even though I was, 3 or 4 pounds overweight technically. So the point is, pick your number, but don't get married to that number, because the fact is, you may find that you get down to that number and you're like, whoa, I need to lose more weight still. Or it might work the other way. You're at a higher weight, but you realize, I'm really happy where I am weight-wise. And then you can then say, okay, I want to maintain here for now. And you can always pick it up later and go back to it, just like I did. Eventually I said, I don't like being that 3 or 4 pounds, above the normal BMI. I wanted to get down right in that zone. And so after I maintained for a year, that's what I did. I went down from 157 down to 140. So basically, don't pin your happiness to that number. Pick a number, but don't pin your happiness to it. Really, I think it's much more important to look at how you're feeling, those things in your life, the reasons why you're wanting to lose weight. Maybe you're missing out on things, you're not putting yourself out there. Start to notice those things and really focus on that more than the number. Although I think the number is a great thing to track. Step 2 is pick your plan. And this is actually the most fun part, or it can be the most fun part of setting your weight loss goals, because you get to write it. You get to pick what your rules are for you and for your life. You look at your life, see what kind of plan will easily fit into your life, and then do that plan and commit to it and make your own rules. Take complete and total ownership of it, and then don't really worry about what everybody else is doing. My suggestions would be, make the plan really easy to stick to. Focus on consistency over time. Don't worry so much with getting there quickly. So make it really easy. Make it really simple, because it's very easy to make things really complicated and have all these rules and then kind of forget what you're doing. So keep it simple. And then pick a method of tracking. For me, I love to weigh every single day and keep track of my 7-day average. And that worked for me because my goal was to lose weight. And so that's why I weigh every day, so I can keep a track of that. But maybe your method is different, but pick a method and then work that into your plan. What are you going to do to keep track of where you're at on your progress. Also, focus on enjoyment, which is so overlooked. So many people are so concerned with, what results they might get. They don't even care or really look at and see and are honest with themselves about how much they will enjoy that plan. Focus on enjoyment because you're going to stick to it. Like for me, the way that worked in my plan was I made it really simple by saying there are these basically 3 things that I'm going to do. I'm going to walk 6 miles every day. I'm going to do intermittent fasting 6 days a week. I'm going to take a cheat day on Sunday. And that was it. So it was very simple and actually very easy because I kept the cheat day and I didn't have any rules about what foods I was eating. I was just eating whatever foods I wanted. Step 3 is probably the trickiest step, and that's setting up your timeline. And really, until you've really stuck with your plan for several weeks and you've been really consistent, can you only really kind of get a sort of idea of how fast you'll lose the weight. Now, back in 2016, when I could look back at it, I realized that was about a pound a week on average. And that was good. But I didn't really know that until I had done that for a year. So it's kind of hard. I picked that at the beginning, and luckily I just kind of picked right. I said, I'll be happy with, a pound. Really, I'll be happy with half a pound a week. And it ended up being about a pound. But the point is, I didn't really know until I did it. And the same thing happened again in 2017. I was like, I don't even know how fast I might lose this weight. And in that case, I gave myself a very loose timeline. I said, I'm going to be really consistent. I'm going to focus on consistency, but I really have no real expectations. I said maybe a half a pound a week. And the thing is I ended up losing at about a third of a pound a week. But at that point, I was in a normal, BMI range anyway. And I think that as you get into that kind of area, as long as you're just being patient, it isn't the timeline just isn't that important. At this point, I don't even care. I'm really at a point now where I'm just maintaining. But the timeline is important just because you kind of want to give yourself okay, I need to at least expect, a year or so for this to take place. Don't get in that mindset of I've got to lose 5 pounds a week and I'll be done in a month or 2. Step 4 is to break it down into sub goals, which I did in 2016, and that was very helpful because in 2016 I had a lot of weight to lose. I had 50 pounds that I wanted to lose, and so that taking it and chunking it into 5-pound increments. And what I did was I said, if I can lose a pound a week, then I would write down, okay, I should hit this sub goal by this certain date. And then I would actually go back into that Google Doc and cross through it when I hit that goal and put down the date that I achieved it. That was really helpful for me, keeping it in those 5-pound chunks. And having those little sub goals, I think, is very helpful. Phil Bethune, a guy I interviewed as an intermittent fasting success story, did the same thing, chunked it into 5-pound increments, and he had great success with that too. And step 5 is really just to go out there and do your plan, work your plan, be consistent, and be patient. And if you do that over time, you'll see the results. The real thing that I see that happened to me and happens to so many people is we get in this hurry and we just get impatient with ourselves and we try doing all this crazy stuff that we don't stick with. So instead, focus on your plan, doing it consistently over time. And if you check in with yourself, if you feel oh, I'm not really making progress, I like to check in with myself once a month and really say, okay, here I am today. What was it like a month ago? What was it like 2 months ago? Or when I first started? And that can really help keep you motivated for the long haul. And one last pitfall to avoid is stop making the same mistakes. Look at your past and learn from it. If you're thinking right now of going back on that diet that you were on a couple of years ago, learn from it, really ask yourself, why didn't I stick with it? And be honest, because what happens sometimes is we think, oh, well, this time I'm stronger. This time I'm going to stick with that thing. And really it might be that the reality is that plan just doesn't fit well with your life. It doesn't mean that makes you a bad person or anything. I don't do low carb. I don't like low carb, but that's just me. It's what works for me and my life is to eat plenty of carbs and just to enjoy life and to do intermittent fasting. But you might be different. The main thing to remember is what works for you. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So, if you've done that thing in the past and it didn't work, try something different or do something different this time. So those are my best tips for setting up good weight loss goals. Also, I would say, since you're making goals anyway for weight loss, take that time and look at other areas of your life and set some goals there. Not too many, because if you have too many goals going on in all different directions, it can be overwhelming. but take, a moment or two, look at your life and set some goals in other areas, especially ones that you can really control. Like for me, for example, I knew my weight wasn't going to be something I could truly control every single day because the scale goes up and down and up and down. Over time, I just care that the trend is downwards, but I know that day to day is going to fluctuate. So I decided, okay, well, with that, my walking 6 miles every day, I can control that. I can do that every single day. I can succeed at that goal. So I would recommend to you, have something that you can really control, the inputs on and the outputs on, in addition to these weight loss goals. So if you have any tips about how to set up good weight loss goals, something maybe I forgot, leave it in the comments below. Okay, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below.